It's a mic over there, yeah. Is it? It's working.
Hello, everybody. I must tell you, when Rabbi Kunin approached me, I had some hesitation. I was scared to approach such smart, brilliant young people. What can I contribute to you? So he convinced me, and I'm going to try my best. I have some hearing difficulties, so you'll bear with me. I'll probably need some help with that. And so here I am. And as you know, I am a survivor. I was 15 years old when my family was taken. We were at that time living in Hungary, which was already Nazi sympathizer, and they were with Germany in companions. I mean, they were following the German doctrine. So in 1944, I was 15 years old, and the Nazis marched in to occupy Hungary. And they collected us, all the Jews in the small town that I lived in, and they took us to the synagogue and locked us in. Not knowing what's going to happen, we knew that this is really a big problem, but of course we didn't know the extent of what's waiting for us. So we were in the synagogue for a few days, jammed in together, sleeping on the floor, and no provisions, nothing provided for us. And then they gathered us and they took us to a neighboring town where they established a ghetto. The ghetto consisted of a few, like a city block that they took over. They took away the fences, and there was an open space. And all this area, they jammed in all the people from the surrounding area. We were in one room, several families, and nothing was provided for us as far as food and sustenance, and we had to just somehow look after us. And then we were there for 4 weeks, and after 4 weeks, they loaded us into cattle cars. Inside the cattle car were a number of families. There was just standing room or very, very narrow space, crouching and jammed in together. There was nothing provided except an empty pail for our use. It was horrible. The physical and the mental torture already started there. Jammed in together and not knowing where we are going, which direction, what is the plan, what's going to be with us. After traveling for a few days under these horrible conditions, we arrived at a destination that we didn't know anything about, where we are, what is it about. When the doors opened, then they were Nazis in uniform with dogs, and some of the old prisoners who were there already for a number of years. We didn't know who they are. They were in striped uniform wearing, and they were chasing us out from these cattle cars. Quickly, rouse, rouse, the Germans was yelling, and then they lined us up, and there was a Nazi in uniform who was in front, and as we were walking, he made the selection, left and right, left and right. We had no idea what that meant, but it meant that we were separated. My mother and my younger brother went on the left. Myself and my two sisters went on the right. The people who went, which we found out only later, the people who went to the left were taken to a crematorium, gassed, and in the gas chamber first, and then in crematoriums to burn. Didn't know at that time because they said they are taking us for labor, and over the weekend we'll meet up with the family. We were marched and we were taken into a building, stripped of all our clothes, shaven, totally shaven. It was a horrible experience, all these SS men walking among us. So imagine all these innocent girls who came mostly from observant Orthodox families, and here suddenly to be in the nude and all these men walking among us. Everybody was trying to get into the center, not to be in the edge, which didn't mean much. So they took all our clothes, the shoes and everything, gave us one dress, nothing, no underwear, anything. It was a prisoner dress. We got some shoes. I happened to get a pair which wasn't even matching, but two left pairs, because all the clothes and all the valuables, everything was sorted and taken to Germany, all the clothes and all the shoes. And the hair also, all the hair that they offer, all these millions of people that they shaved, even the hair was shipped to Germany as valuable source. From there, they took us into a barrack. They marched us into a barrack, and it was 3 layers. Nothing, just planks, just wooden planks, no blankets or mattresses. If you open a can of sardines, you'll have the picture how we were squeezed together on this barracks. So we were there for about 6 months, very, very little food. And when we asked about our parents and about everybody, they said, "You see this chimney, the smoke, that's where your mother is." We didn't understand what that meant, but this is what happened, that it was this huge chimney and the flames coming all the time, and the stench was terrible, the human flesh that was burning. So we were very lined up every morning, very early in the morning, 5 in a row, and the Germans did the counting. It was called the Zählappell. And it took hours and hours that we couldn't move. We just had to stand up straight. And for some reason, the count didn't add up. Then they made us kneel with our hands up until they got the addition and they got the numbers right. So this was all, we were surrounded with live wire. And there were cases that people wanted to end their lives, and they went to the wire rather than endure what was happening. Conditions were horrible. Food, very, very minimum, some kind of a black water in the morning, and then a slice of bread, which wasn't really real bread. It contained sawdust and kind of things. It was just very minimum. So we were there in that barrack, and then they started selection for work, for labor. They needed slave labor. We knew at this point we have to get out of Auschwitz because this is just an extermination camp, and the only purpose is there to exterminate the people. So we were all anxious, hoping that if they take us for work, we'll have a possibility of survival. So there came a civilian man, a German, and we were lined up, and he asked, "What did you do at home?" And I was with two sisters and cousins in one line, and we all said that we were farmers, to make us appear that we are capable and able-bodied people. So they picked us, and again they took us in the cattle cars, again for a few days, and we had no idea where we are going, but it's really true, or are they taking us to a minefield, or are they taking us to execution? But we did arrive in the middle of the night. There was a little episode that I want to share. We didn't see babies, we didn't see any civilians, people, and we arrived in the middle of the night with that train, and there was a woman with a baby carriage. And we all got very excited seeing a baby carriage. And even now I can see the fear on that woman's face. She thought that these are people who were just discharged from a mental institute, the way we looked, the way we were dressed, the way we had the shaven heads, and my dress was a black satin dress. So you can imagine what it meant to look somebody like that. The clothes and the striped clothes, I mean, the fear that this woman, but we were so excited to see a baby because we didn't see that. I mean, this is just, so we were in the dark, we didn't know where they were taking us. So they marched us into a barrack, and this time the conditions were better. We each got a separate bunk. In Auschwitz, we were three layers in the bunk. Here it was, we each got a separate bunk, and we were taken to a factory for work. We were chosen day shift and night shift, 12 hours. We came to this place, and we saw this machinery, and there was a workbench, and each workbench had a Herrmeister, who was in charge, and two girls were given each to help this Herrmeister. And the first thing he did, he gave me in my hand a big wrench. Oh, there was this bullet-shaped thing, which all over the place, stand on a stand. Had no idea what that is. It turned out it was an aircraft factory, and this was an aircraft. So he gave me in my hands a wrench, and he told me to take this part apart. It was like a turbine-like thing. I started to do it, to take these bolts, but I had no idea how to hold the wrench, and it was slipping, and my hand was bleeding. So he started cussing and cursing me. "What did you do? Where did you come from?" So I didn't have to prove myself anymore, so I told him I was a schoolgirl. He started to laugh. What am I telling him? What kind of a lie? So he calls over the other guy. "Hans, come over. Come listen what she has to say." So tells her that, "You hear that?" She said she was a schoolgirl. So now both of them are laughing. What am I telling them? Stories. So he says, one of them, okay, I want to share it with you. He said, "Okay, then tell me what is the capital of Germany." "Berlin." What is the capital of Luxembourg? I haven't forgotten all these three questions. And who was a famous person who was born on an island? So that's Sardinia and Napoleon and capital Ajaccio. So they were amazed. That's not what they expected. They thought Jews are some kind of horrible looking creatures. They are mental, they have no ability for anything. They are just not human people. And here they started to see blonde, blue-eyed, and intelligent. So it was an amazing experience for them, how they imagined what Jews are like. And it was a revelation that Jews are normal people. So we worked there again, 12 hours day shift and 12 hours night shift. The night shift was the most horrible thing, no food. And in the day shift was bad enough because again, we just had some black water in the morning and this very little slice of so-called bread. And then in the evening, a soup, which was mostly some turnips, mostly water. So the starvation was the worst than anything you can imagine, because hunger you cannot describe. And we were working there till the war ended. The war ended. Suddenly we saw fighting, bombing, and we knew that the Germans, before they leave, that they will finish us off. They were not going to let us out alive. Either they'll burn, which was very, very common, that they burned. They put people in a building and they put it on fire, and there were machine guns around it, surrounding that nobody could escape, or they will just or get rid of us in their usual way. So it was a big surprise that they disappeared, and we were in this barrack that had no water, had nothing, no provisions for us. Then the Russians came in. The Russians didn't know, they never saw creatures the way we looked. They didn't know who we are, but they were busy with their own war, and they were still fighting. The war was still going on in certain places. So they did not take care of us, so we were left on our own. My sister, at this point, died from starvation. So we were just left, two of us, one sister, and we started to make our way home. I want to mention that when I was in the ghetto, I expressed my thoughts. I wrote down my experience in the ghetto with all this despair and worry and suffering. I just had that convincing feeling that I'm going to survive, that God, who was our Savior, will not abandon us. I don't know how. I don't know. I had that big faith and this big trust. And that was the same thing in Auschwitz. Even with this suffering, with this ill-human treatment and the starvation and all the horrible things that were taking place, I still had this unbelievable faith. We were brought up in Orthodox Jewish family, so I guess the upbringing kept us going, those people who had that upbringing, that we will not be forsaken and we'll be survive and be able. I made a vow that when we survive, we have to tell the future generation what took place here. I didn't think that this will happen, that actually there will be people who will want to know, and I'm very impressed that you young people, because you are the future and you are the one who will carry it on, and it's very important that you should know and learn from it. How? Why should still such horror take place, so many terrible things in this world that people don't learn? Mankind just doesn't want to learn, but you are the young people and you can make a difference in every respect. And here I am.
Big round of applause. Thank you, Mrs. Schwartz. We should have a big round of applause for the leaders of the Jewish Law Student Association. Their Hebrew names are Reuven and Yaakov, Robert and Rayan. They are heroes. And every one of us today have to be a hero like Mrs. Schwartz. And indeed, today, millions of Jews around the world are completing a certain section of Maimonides where we learn about the building of the Holy Temple. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, whom I represent, told us that it's a prophecy with the last generation of the exile of the Jewish people and the suffering of the whole world. And very soon we'll have the coming of the redemption of the purpose for which God created the world, that all people will get along. So a very big round of applause for Robert and Rayan. Thank you very much, guys. And I also want you to know that your campus has received a special Jewish continuity grant from Chabad for a weekly lunch and learn. I've been coming the past few weeks, and with God's help, you'll hear more about that with God's help. And we're going to do a raffle that Mrs. Schwartz is going to sign this book of Trusting in Hashem. That was her secret recipe, her secret sauce. Everybody, please give a big round of applause. I want to have it on camera.
Read the poems?
Yeah. Yes. Now we also distributed poems, and Robert and Ray, do you speak? You want to speak now? Okay, great. So we'll do a raffle for this book that Mrs. Schwartz is going to sign herself. Her Hebrew name is Raffle, and this will teach you how to trust in God. If you want more, I have one for purchase, or you can buy it afterwards as well. So there we go. Mrs. Schwartz, please sign this. We'll check first. We'll do the raffle. Do we have Ariella? We have the papers signed up for people. Anybody wants to be the raffle? You just fill out one of those papers.
Not the poem paper, the other paper, pass it on over to editor.
You can just sign this over here. And then if anybody has any questions, you can come also with your poem so Mrs. Schwartz can sign the poem that was given to you.
Please make sure they're filled out so you can get your lovely surprise.
Write over something special about trusting in us. You did a great job. Thank you so much.
Dedicate?
No. We'll dedicate to when you do a raffle and send it away. We also have delicious food over here. We have falafel, chicken, and beef kebab. There may be some more people. If anybody did not sign up and reserve a meal, you have a kosher restaurant meal voucher coming to you. Please send me an email, rabbimendy@chabad.com, so I can get you a kosher restaurant meal voucher. I want to say this big thank you for all of you for coming today and showing special honor and respect to Mrs. Schwartz. Mrs. Mayer, would you like to say something special? Mrs. Mayer's mother just passed away. She was a Holocaust survivor. And Mrs. Mayer has also built a beautiful Jewish family. Some of my best friends are her kids and sons-in-law. So I want you to know.
I wanted to welcome you. I wanted to personally thank Mrs. Schwartz for sharing her story, because how traumatizing it is. Every time she tells us the story again and again, she relives those moments. The biggest thing that affected me in hearing her story is that she was only 15 years old when she experienced this. Yet she had determination to live on and to continue, and then come to Los Angeles, resettle, build a family in a loving, functional way, never used her experiences of the past as an excuse. But she and her husband, Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Zully Schwartz, a lovely man, had determination that they are going to leave everything behind. There's a mission, had a life's mission, to build a Jewish community in Los Angeles, build generations of children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We have great-great-great-grandchildren, and that they would follow in the Jewish way and be proud of their heritage and continue. So I know the poems were distributed, so read them at your leisure. And we know there's a class coming up in this room, but if you have any questions, Mrs. Schwartz would be so happy to address them and share on. But really, she is our hero today. So hard to see. So we're going to go outside.
Anyone have any questions for Mrs. Schwartz?
Now we do the raffle for the special book that Mrs. Schwartz just wrote a special message in there. So, here, 1 second to make this easy. Mrs. Schwartz, do you want to choose one of these papers? That's what. Any one of these papers. You can put, there's a raffle. You're making a raffle for the book. Here's a raffle. This is Vane. Do you want to take one out? Okay.
I think everyone deserves this book.
You hear this?
A book.
Everyone, Mrs. Mayor says everyone deserves this book. So whoever wants this book, I'll give you a special student discount for this book. You know what? Anybody who wants this book, I'll give you the book. RabbiMandy@Chabad.com. Oh, there is one lucky winner, Aaron Shamaram in the house. Eliyahu Hanavi. Hebrew name is Eliyahu. Very beautiful. So you want to write over here? That's right. Dear Eliyahu. Dear Aaron. What's up there?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. It really meant a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah.
We write his name? Yeah. Want me to write it?
Oh, you wrote
Take
it?
a picture with you of us.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, you want me to get the camera?
Yeah.
It made my day. I'm like so honored that like I get an award. I'm so honored.
I have a picture with her.
Take a picture. Yeah.
Anybody wants pictures?
That's
Hey, I know. If I took more pictures, good for you or more. Yeah, no, there's so much. I think we're going inside. Let's see. So done. Yeah. Mrs. Schwartz, some people want to ask questions. Everybody has fun coming for the picture?
Oh, do you mind backing up all the way?
Yeah, all the way up.
All the way. Whoever wants to join the photo, come on in.
You guys are coming.
Yeah, I think we need to.
Squeeze in.
Okay, look at her. 1, 2, 3. Can you? Okay. Deep banana. 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Thank you.
Usted?
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
We do another picture. We need another picture because we need El Presidente, co-president. Let's do one more picture. Yeah, Robert worked so hard to make this event happen. Day and night. Hey, where's Rain? Robert and Rain. Is Rain here? Sarah, thank you very much.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's your name? Another one. What's your last name?
Sorry, this is my phone.
Happy birthday.
Where's the rose?
If anybody wants to sign, want to have a total sign? It's Hebrew and English. Yeah. You just send me an email, I'll get you. Okay, just say it. I'm gonna raise money for it. Don't worry. Guys, will you clear the room? Thank you so much. And the food is outside. Robert?
Sorry.
Nice stuff happened. Really stop.
Ready? For you to help her out outside. Guys, let's take it outside. Come on.
I want to say thank you for professional goals. Just fell out you and he said, I'm not going to stop the Holocaust Survivor from talking. No way. Thank you, Dr. Gold.
I know, I thought it was two of them because it's like longer.
Oh, okay, another winner. Winner is